If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free, and you guessed it, it's free. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more. It's everything you need to make a podcast in just one place. So download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Pieces of a Nation. Welcome back, Pieces of a Nation listeners. What is up? Thanks again for coming back to this podcast. This is the podcast that makes you feel stuff, really good things. My name is Richard Chu. Follow us on Instagram, please. It's Pieces of a Nation. Also, when you get a chance, please support us on Patreon. It's only $5 a month. Just go to www.patreon.com/Pieces of a Nation. Also, if you like any of these conversations, they resonate with you, they tickle your fancy, whatever it is, just please leave a comment with your name, your thoughts, and any suggestions you'd like to hear in future episodes. Today, I'd like to introduce you to a gentleman that I have had the pleasure of randomly meeting. Over, I'm not sure where I met him from, to be honest with you, but he threw me out his story, and I took a read of it, and it was extremely fascinating. I can't wait for him to actually talk about it one-on-one. But yeah, he's an artist. He's a music producer. He's also author of his new book called Resilient. Jamara Lynn Lowe, what is up? Welcome to the show, man.
Hey, man. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Yeah, man, dude. Dude? Yeah, man. Let's dive right in, man. I think when I last talked to you, you sent me a lot of your stuff, and it's you got a fascinating story.
Yeah.
Bottom line, you got a fascinating story, man. You want to guys kind of shoot from the hip and talk about.
Well, the book Resilient, it is a story about my life and just the fact that I had no choice other than to win. So that meant just digging deep and just daring to be great, against all odds. And no matter what I was against, I had the will to win, and giving little to no resources by your immediate family or those who care for you. You find yourself kind of feeling like you're on an island, but you got to get to the land on the other side. So you have to do your best. And that's pretty much what I did.
Yeah. I mean, with the story, just so the audience knows what your book's about, just briefly to kind of describe what's happening in the book, and because it's essentially it's an autobiography, right?
Yeah, in a sense, it, again, my life is filled with so much texture that, it would take 1 million pages to write my full life story, but it's just perspective on dealing with parents that are addicted to drugs, and just life from the eyes of the child, and how that affects the child, moving forward, So what I will do, like the dedication page pretty much sums it up. So I'll read that short paragraph of the dedication page so the readers can understand. And it goes as follows. This book is dedicated to all of those who took time to listen to a person in pain tell their story, to the mothers, fathers, and siblings of those impacted by drug addiction and abuse of any kind, dedicated to the children displaced and broken by abuse or addiction, to all the survivors who refuse to be another statistic and refuse to let their past hinder their futures, to my mom for breaking the chains and flying free, showing me the true definition of never giving up, to my children for being another reason I chose to be the strongest version of myself, to my brother and best friend, with your encouragement, we will celebrate this accomplishment together. And lastly, to the love of my life, thank you for pushing me to grow dig deeper, and find balance. So that's the setup for the book, just giving you a little window of what's to come. Yeah.
So I mean, in this book, you obviously talk about drug addiction, and it goes pretty deep.
Oh yeah.
You know, so at what age did you actually experience, the reality of the situation?
Well, kindergarten, first grade,
Wow.
just learning, by seeing my mom acting different, and attributing it to drug abuse, and learning from, just the neighbors in the neighborhood that, my mom was up to no good, and their children were not allowed to play at my house anymore. And I didn't know why. So, when you tell your kids something, you have other parents who give their kids the uncut truth. And, a friend of mine was told by his parents he couldn't play with me because his uncle sells my mom drugs. So that's how the word drugs was introduced to my mind. So I was on a quest to find out what drugs were from that point on. So in the early 80s, that wasn't a discussion kids were talking about, normally. It was like Nintendo and baseball, basketball, stuff like that. So
I mean, it totally sounded like you excelled, 20 years, right? Just because of that word, right, and that experience, right? I mean, dude, how did that affect you, man? Like, how did that affect your perception of the world? Including your family, your environment, and all that, and how did that affect like your your love for your mom and the people around you?
Well, see, the beauty of the type of love I possess, right? It's truly unconditional. So knowing that, for me, it was impossible to not love my mom. So I had to take her how she was, even though I didn't like it. And imagine growing up wanting better for your parent, as they push you to do well and want you to do well. But if they're not doing well on their end, it's like, how can you tell me to do well when I'm telling you I want you to do well also? And there's a disconnect there. So, you become the enemy when you're trying to stop someone from doing what they want to do, especially if what they want to do is something negative or it affects the whole family. So,
What kind of kid were you?
Man, I was just a curious kid who just wanted to live a happy life, but just circumstances, and certain situations robbed me of my childhood because I was forced to grow up too fast, forced to be concerned about things that the normal kid was not concerned about. Or I can't even really say the normal kid because I had no idea what other families were dealing with. I knew I was not the only kid, now in hindsight, I know that. But at the time, it felt like I was in the world by myself,
Yeah, I bet. And you have a brother as well, right? Is he older or younger?
I had an older brother, and I said I had because he passed away. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, he passed. I was 16 and he was 18. So he was like a father figure to me because, my father was not around and he was on drugs as well. So, that was a tough pill to swallow. So, yeah. But again, just having to carry that load, and knowing my whole life that I would be victorious. I couldn't tell you how. I just knew I would be victorious. And that was the mindset I carried through my whole life. So no matter how heavy, the load was, I just knew that I couldn't give up. And I mean, it's like, if you're not going to give up, nothing can stop you. Right. If I get knocked down 1,000,000 times, I'm still going to get up. If I die trying to still win, at least I didn't quit.
Yeah. Where do you feel like where do you feel like that instinct of knowing that you were going to be victorious no matter what? What do you think it was instilled from?
It was
it-
it was God, man. You know,
mm, mm,
God. That's the only way I can describe it. God, because certain things they don't have an answer, you know, that our earthly brains can understand. So that's how I knew God was real. I didn't have the capability to open doors across the country or across town. You know, I'm not that, you know, I'm not a magician. I'm not that powerful. You know, all I can
right,
do is what I can do. You know, but I knew God put people in place, you know, to help me, perfect strangers. So
right.
yeah, that's the only way I can sum it up. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. I mean, like the connection to. I mean,
Mhm.
whatever. Obviously you believe in
Yeah.
God, but there are other
Yeah.
people out there that,
Hmm.
look at the source or
Hmm.
the energy and the universe in many different ways. So
Right.
just to generalize it a little bit,
Mhm.
like,
Yeah.
how does one have that sort of faith that things will work out, and how does how does one in your experience
Hmm.
create the sort of breakthroughs that you want to break through? Because I find what you went through, man, like seriously, dude, like,
Yeah.
you know, so much, you said that, you all you wanted to do is just live a happy life, right? And
Yeah. That's
happy
it.
life.
That's
But
it.
it was almost like there was an opponent coming at you saying, like, well,
Sure.
before you live a happy life, man, like,
Mhm.
here's the things that I'm going to have to ask you to overcome and jump right over these
Yeah.
obstacles, right? So obviously there's had to be a certain point, where you just felt
Yeah.
like you had to quit, right? But you didn't. Like,
Yeah.
are there times like that you can kind of share,
Yeah.
and just, like, open up this world for us?
Right. Well, I can recall, you know, one moment where the pressure in my whole entire life felt so much that, you know, there was no one I can turn to, you know, in the physical form, no one I can talk to, no one that I was bold enough to speak to about what I was actually going through, because the way I was raised, we didn't speak about, you know, our trials. You know, we couldn't say what our mom was doing, you know, because you had the system, you know, child protective services, or they'll take you away from your home and place you in a family full of strangers, you know. So we had that fear, thinking that if we went somewhere where they didn't love us, they would treat us worse, you know. So that was kind of like, you know, a stigma around foster homes, like they were full of bad people, or at least that was the picture painted. So just knowing that there was nowhere for me to go, or believing that, it felt like I just had to accept what my situation was, right? But knowing that it had to be more, I couldn't accept that. So that led me to go out on my own without any direction and just fend for myself. And that's what I did. And at my high school, you know, there was a custodian who really looked out for me. She made sure I ate. She showed me where I can get, you know, the food they sold at lunch for free. And I don't know what told her to do that. She didn't know me. She didn't know my story. And another campus security guard was like, hey, here's some bus tokens, man. You can get anywhere you need to get, like here. So those people placed in my life like that just gave me hope. And they didn't even know what I was going through. But now in hindsight, adults, they can see different things in kids, because again, in the school setting, we see these things often, right? We know these stories, we just don't know the details.
Yeah.
So now myself, I can look and tell what a little kid's going through, because not only have I been through it, but it's just a certain energy. Like you said, you can feel that energy when somebody's down, when somebody's low. So good people, you know, they're called to help. You know,
Mm.
their energy is drawn to where there's a lack of, and they pour into that person. So again, if we're all connected in some kind of way, then it's automatic, you know. And
Mm.
if you stay open to that, then you know the right person will come along and be that helping hand for you. That's what I
Mm.
was shown. So no matter how you spin it, you know, it could be energy, it could be God, it could be the higher power, it could be the moon, the sun, whatever. It's something, you know, because at the end of the day, if you make it, you know, there's certain elements that helped create that win for you. So I just believe if you are believing that you are gonna make it, you have to believe that wholeheartedly, you know. And in
Yeah.
the end, when you make it, we can let the other people decide how, you know.
Yeah.
You know, you're gonna make it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I practice Buddhism, you know, and
Yeah.
in Buddhism,
Yeah.
we you know, we practice not just to, you know, deepen our own lives, but as we're creating these causes and you know, to move forward towards what we want in life and our
Mhm.
desires, right?
Mhm.
We're also creating fortune. So like the idea of creating fortune, you know, is the continuous effort of making causes towards things that are good, and you know, ultimately, when you need something, that's something that you need will come to you at the right exact moment, right? So just, the reason why I'm bringing that up, it's
Mhm.
just, you know, the story you just told me really
Mhm.
reminds me of,
Yeah.
you know, it doesn't really matter which sort of practice you uptake, right? It's
Yes.
all it really comes down to is the faith, and the want and the need in your life at the time. Um, and those things will come, man.
Yep.
You just got to keep faith.
Exactly.
You know, like, so where are you, where are you at right now, man? Like, you know, in the you know, before we did the intro, you said you were overwhelmed, and
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
tell us about the fruits of your labor, man.
Man, look. So, you know, I work at a school and you know, 98% of my coworkers are teachers, and you know, they're reading this book and they're connecting with this little kid version of myself, and they're hearing this story and how the help that I was, you know, destined for, the help that I needed didn't come at the times I needed it, you know. So the suffering I had to go through it. And they just felt so compassionate about what I went through because I reminded them of many of their students in their classes. So just the overall consensus, they're like, man, this story is just heart wrenching. It's touching. It's triumphant. It's all those things. It's just a ball of emotions, you know. So they're connecting with it personally, you know, and others, you know, through my bravery, they're able to speak about their vices in life that they had to overcome. So just me sharing has had people sharing in return. So it's like a trauma for a trauma almost, you know, and I'm just realizing that I'm not the only one. And it's now I'm part of a community of people who are either healed or trying to find healing, you know, and through my experiences, I can speak to some of the things that they're facing that I've gone through and just give them insight. So that it's a beautiful thing to be so well received, you know?
Yeah, I mean, that it's almost like you opened up a whole new world
True.
to these teachers, to have more compassion and empathy towards
Yes.
you know, the children that they did teach
Right.
and that are to come, right? I
Right.
mean,
Right.
you know, right?
Yes, that's exactly true. They in some of their reviews, they're saying that, you know, my story is giving them a new level of compassion for these kids because they don't know what these kids are going through in their home life, and they're just kids, you know. So we can't just come down on a kid because he's acting a certain way when we don't know what he dealt with last night. He could have had a life like me, or he could have watched his mom get brutally beat the night before and still come to school the next day and, you know, act on what he saw, or, you know, like we don't know. So we have to, you know, just be a little more mindful that people are going through things, and there is no such thing as a perfect child because we all have our own issues, you know?
Right. Right. Wow. I kind of want to pivot into your process of writing the book.
Okay.
And, I'm sure as you sat down to kind of prepare for yourself for the pages, you're definitely also most likely preparing yourself for an onslaught of emotions to come up, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So give us a sort of little idea of your process from a beginning to end, and how you laid things out, and how you dealt with your emotions as they came up, and how you were able to persevere to the end of the book.
Okay. So for starters, right, just knowing that I was going to write this book, and I'm like, all right, you're going to do it. I had no real idea of where to begin, and I felt like starting from the beginning would be kind of boring to myself, and so naturally I just went to the most traumatic time in my life, which was when my brother passed away. So I started there when I was 16 years old, writing about when my brother passed away. And it was so heavy that, I just wrote run-on sentences and I was just pouring it out, right? And
how did your brother pass?
He died in a car accident.
Wow.
Yeah, he died in a car accident. So I wrote that part down, and then I went back and I looked at it. I was like, man, this is not good, but it's real. So then I start breaking that down, and then I'm like, okay, let me put it in story form, So then I just said, let me start writing short stories about things that happened in my life, So I shied away from some of the heavier stuff because I cried and I stopped, and So I started writing some of the funnier stories, and next thing you know, I had about 40 stories. So I knew exactly what happened first and second and third. So the ordering was not a problem, and it was just about getting the stuff down on paper. So once I got it down on paper, I realized there was a common thread happening in my life. So I started intertwining things that the reader should know, and things that helped, guide you through the things I was going through in my life. So as I went back and put everything in place, it was like a puzzle. Then I put it together. Then I wrote the beginning last. Yeah,
it's like a Tarantino film sometimes.
Yeah. I just wrote the beginning last, and I wanted to paint, the beginning, beautiful. Because I knew it was ugliness all throughout, but I just wanted to paint the beginning beautiful so people can connect, with the kid.
Wow. Yeah. You said there was a common thread. What was that common thread?
That common thread was just dealing with a drug addiction that wasn't mine, and all the things that happened because of that, things that I had no control over. As a young kid, I couldn't pay the bills to keep a roof over my head. I wasn't old enough to work. So just being displaced so many times, I went to 9 different elementary schools, and just my dad wasn't there. And I kept reaching out and wanting him to be a part of my life, but he wasn't. And just, trying to stay away from the bad stuff in life, and trying to do right when having no guidance. So it talks about, the trials of the youth. It shows you how easily you can become a gang member, or a good kid when there's no guidance. It works that way. So now I understand, what kids go through because I've been there. I just have to be strong enough to make, the right choices and be by myself, going the right way instead of what everybody else going the wrong way. So,
Mm. I mean, that's an interesting, man, that's a really interesting subject, to me at least, where,
yeah,
you know, when you were in that position, you were at a crossroads and you were trying to figure out which way to go. Should I take the high road or the low road? You know, ultimately you decided to take the high road.
yeah.
What makes a person decide to take the low road, and what made you decide to take the high road?
Well, I have to give all credit, to my brother, because again, that was my first friend and my best friend, my roommate growing up in life. And it came a point when I was 12 years old and he was 14. He decided that was the life he was going to live. He needed money now. He couldn't depend on mom because she was addicted to drugs. So he ended up, selling drugs and ended up having to sell drugs to her to keep a roof over our heads. So that was a heavy load, and to this day, I can't imagine what it felt like to be him, And he told me, look, we both don't need to go this way. You do play sports, use your art, to get you somewhere. Like, we both don't need to go down this road. One of us has to make it, So I felt like he sacrificed himself for me,
Wow. He totally protected you in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah. So I feel myself getting emotional now, but I vowed to never let him down. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like my dad didn't really care because he wasn't there, and mom as well. She was too busy getting high, so I had to at least make my brother proud. Because he told me, man, don't worry about anything. Like, I'll make sure you have what you need.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just wanted to have something, man, and just be happy. So that was the joy for me. And then shortly after, he passed. So
yeah,
I was on my own again, trying to put it together and figure out how I was going to navigate through life.
Right. Wow.
Yeah, I just wanted guidance, man. I just wanted guidance.
Yeah. Talking about guidance. Speaking of guidance, through this process, like, through anything in life, right? It's always important to have a mentor or a teacher, right? It's hard enough trying to figure things out as being a lone wolf, if you will, right? And just trying to find your own way, which is great. But I feel like that without the proper teachers around you, you can only get to a certain level.
Right.
Are there, aside from your brother, have there been and are there, mentors and teachers that really, kicked your butt, man, and really just put it in you?
To be honest, man, in high school, I had one teacher, Mr. Boucher, right? I think I was in 10th grade. He would tell me, man, you shouldn't even be here. You should be in City College right now. Like, you should be getting these college credits out the way, man. This stuff is too easy for you. And I didn't know what to do with that, because my mom wasn't stable enough. I didn't know who to give this information to. When he would call the house, we didn't have a home phone at times. So it was like, I didn't have the know-how, to put those steps into motion. So that gave me confidence to know I was doing something right, but I didn't know how to really put that plan into action,
Yeah. So like, at what point do you think you took advantage of all that, and it started to trickle down in terms of building that momentum towards where were you able to come out of all that?
Well, my best friend, John, his mom, she was like a mom to me as well, and educated woman and, college educated at that. And she would always give me some of the greatest advice, and I would take that advice and she would give him that advice as well. So I would watch what he would do, and try to emulate that, to the best of my ability. But at the same time, you want that nurturing from your own, mom as well. So I could never give up on her. So I have my ties to, I don't want to call it the low life, but just her level of where she was at. And I could not stray far away from her because I loved her so much. So I couldn't go to college out of town because I was afraid of what might happen when I was gone, to my mom. And that type of mentality really hindered me for a while until I was able to just let go and start living for myself,
Yeah. Yeah.
And one of the main reasons that affected me so much, because when my brother died at 16, when I was 16 and my brother died at 18, my mom tried to kill herself after that, so that traumatized me because, she was in a coma for like a week and I was just stuck.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to prepare for my future because I didn't know if I was going to have a mom or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And my dad was in jail. So it was just, and I was still grieving the death of my brother. So, and not having, direct guidance, that was tough, man. And I never wanted to burden anybody either. I didn't want anybody to feel sorry for me. So I would try to mask all that with a fake smile and stuff like that and pretend like I'm okay when I wasn't. So,
wow.
Yeah. So the freedom now just to look back and know that I'm not that guy anymore. And I can tell this story and find strength in telling this story because I did make it, but it was damn tough,
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's crazy, man. You're telling me these stories and, it's extremely, wow. It blows my mind. Like the lightness in the way you're telling this stuff. And, yeah, I don't even know. I mean, obviously each person has their own sort of trials and tribulations and all that. But man, your story was super intense for me. And I just like if we were together, man, I'd give you like a fist bump, right? If you could see that, a virtual fist bump, man. Yeah. You talked about your friend's mom and guidance and stuff like that. What sort of things does she tell you? Like,
man, so look, and man, I'm gonna go see her today and just thank her again. She grew up in a time where, there was no diversity, and he's the youngest. So he has an older brother who passed away like mine did. And he was his older brother was 53. He just passed this year, right?
Wow.
So she would just tell me like she went to college at the age of, I can't remember how old she was, but she had 2 kids, and she's going to college to get her degree, and in Oakland at the time when the Black Panther Party was prevalent, so, there was segregation still and all that. And she just showed me like, if she can do that as a single parent, like what's your excuse? So I would channel that, like this lady with 2 kids, and no help, just going all out and doing the best she can. So I use that as motivation, and I admired her for that. Just, going to school and just to better yourself, and not being a drug addict, that was amazing to me. And having a job, I've never seen my mom work. So just, I couldn't pull, workforce insight from her. You know what I mean? So I had to get that elsewhere. So I really appreciate her and them for, opening the door for me and letting me see, traces of a better life, because I wasn't going to see that in my house.
Yeah. Yeah. What type of books did you study? Growing up, man.
You will be surprised. I didn't read any books.
No way.
No books.
No way.
I had no time. I couldn't sit quietly.
Yeah.
My life was a tornado.
Yeah.
Man, I couldn't do homework.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes I didn't have a home. I lived out my backpack. I couch surfed.
Yeah.
Like it was it was really hard, but I'm surprised looking back. I did it all with a smile, and people really didn't know, so I didn't want people to feel sorry for me. But being an artist, that was my first skill. I would draw portraits of people and get paid for it. I remember in high school, I got paid to do 50 Say No to Drug posters.
Wow.
So I think I got paid like $5 each one or something. So I was generating income for myself. I learned how to cut hair. So I would cut the whole apartment complex hair sometimes at like $5 a piece, 30 kids, so I was just trying to make a way out of the way. So, to keep a few dollars in my pocket, what I mean? So just being a hustler, man, and,
That's right, man. Just being a hustler.
Legally,
Yeah.
Legally,
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right.
It came a point in my life where I said I do not want to do any crime because it's too easy to go to jail. And if I do that, then I just, I let myself become a statistic. So I have to use my brain to make a way out.
Yeah, you have to shut that door completely, man. Take the road that's I guess, quote unquote the high road, right? You also do music. What's up with that? What's going on with that?
So I have a soundtrack for my book. Actually, I'm going to release it.
Interesting.
In the next week. My cousin Tom Twice, he's releasing a project 4th of July. So I don't want to release mine the same time as his. So I'll release it the next week. But it's just songs, representing my life and talking about my life and the struggle. So people who read my book, they're going to be interested in how I speak from, the pain and the victory in my life. Yeah. These are, songs of just true stuff. So yeah, that's coming out. But how I started with music, I have an older cousin. He was a music producer. And when I was going to college, I would go by his place and see him make music. And I was fascinated. And not only that, but when my brother died, his passion was music. So I was in sports. And when he passed away, like my dreams were no longer. I didn't have them anymore. I didn't have the passion, the drive to pursue anything that was of me. So I adapted his dreams and I said, hey, this is a way he can live on through me. So I began to pursue his dreams, which was music. So through music, we were able to stay connected. And I was able to get good at it with no formal training or anything,
Wow.
So I bought a keyboard and I learned how to work it and I started producing. And I had another older cousin who invested in me. He bought a big studio building and I was the engineer and the producer of that building. We did a 60-40 split. So I was able to generate some income for myself,
Nice.
That saved me from poverty,
Yeah.
And then I met a famous lawyer and he started a record label. And he hired me as a music producer. And then we went in as partners. So
nice.
I elevated a little higher in the music.
Yeah. Yeah. You still doing producing?
Yes. Yeah.
Name some albums, man, for the listeners.
My album that I released before my mom passed away is called Stay Strong. And I talk about some of my struggles on that album. And it's on iTunes, Spotify. My name is Jamarlin Lowe, of course. So my artist name is J Lo.
J Lo?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just a letter J or?
Yeah, just a letter J and LOWE, like one word, J Lo.
Got it. Yeah. Okay.
And it's online, and my new music is more geared towards just speaking of God and just the blessings that is brought to my life now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And because I just feel like that's all I want to talk about these days, because that's all I had. But that previous album, man, I loved it because I was able tell my true story and inspired myself at the same time, and my mother, because I told true stories about, my upbringing, and she heard that and she felt it was time to let that out, because before it was embarrassing for her, for me to tell the story of my true childhood, which meant persecution for her, because all of my hardships were due to her drug addiction, initially in life. So
Yeah.
she had a great deal of embarrassment from that until she got herself sober and realized that, hey, it's my story too,
Yeah.
I don't have to say your name, but my mom is my mom, and that's you.
Yeah. Yeah. You're like the conduit of goodness, man.
Yeah. But, good to say she ended up getting her life right, though. She ended up, cleaning up her act after 30 something years,
Yeah.
And I finally had that good relationship with my mom. It was short lived because she passed away,
Right.
But for that, I'm so grateful, and I was able to tell a story of her triumph as well. But I had to take you to the beginning,
Yeah.
And again, knowing it spans 30 some years, you have to really read and get to the details to appreciate, that recovery. And it is possible. So for people that are struggling with addiction now, like my story can be, a beacon of hope for you, because again, if you never give up, you really can't fail. You'll go through some tough times, but if you're focused on trying to beat whatever your vice is, man, you can do it if you don't give up.
Yeah.
I saw her do it, so she's my hero for that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's your future look like, man? What are you looking forward to?
Man, honestly, I'm looking forward to seeing my soundtrack go #1 and my book go #1 and the movie coming out from my book, and writing another one.
Nice.
And another one,
Nice. You got people looking at your book already?
I do.
Nice.
And that's how I know it's just not me having high hopes, because, I came in with, I don't want to say low expectations, but just humble expectations, just, I didn't care about making money. I'm like, hey, I'm telling my story, you know what I mean? And this is where I come from. If you like it, you like it, but it's real.
Yeah.
And people are receiving it very, very well. So they're telling me that it's a movie. You can see what I'm saying.
Totally.
Yeah, I'm not talking to you. I'm showing you. Yeah. I'm happy that it's going this way.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to see when that comes out, man.
Yeah, me too.
You got to keep me posted on that, man.
I definitely will. I'll send you the soundtrack as well. And what I just did too, I just posted my mom's testimony, because I can't remember if I wrote this or not, but when she passed away, her husband gave me her cell phone. And on Christmas in 2015, the year she passed, I looked through the voice recorder on her phone, and to my surprise, it was about an hour worth of her talking about her whole life.
Wow.
And I found out things I never knew about my mom.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
Wow.
Yeah. So basically that's like her perspective, of my book. And there's a whole ton of confirmations. And it changed my life to hear her apologize, and to mention that some of her actions were disrespect to her children. I grew up thinking she meant like whatever she said was right, and I shouldn't have an opinion, or I couldn't have an opinion. So to hear her say with her own mouth, like she disrespected her kids, that gave me so much peace. And I was able to forgive her in a different way.
Wow, man.
Yeah. So that's That's up right now. So for it could serve as a spoiler, if you listen to that before you read the book. Or it could serve as, whatever one you want to dive in.
A teaser, man. It's a teaser. It's a little appetizer before the main course, man. Right?
Yeah, but it's worth it. Like whatever you decide to do first is all worth it, because her story is unbelievable, and she told it in her own words,
Yeah.
And my story is, the times we were separated and displaced, she didn't know what I was going through because she wasn't there.
Yeah, different perspectives for sure.
And I was homeless at times, and she wasn't there. I didn't know where she was. She didn't know where I was.
Yeah, it's almost like she gave you, the pieces to kind of put the puzzle together.
I know, and that in itself is strange, because when I told myself I'm going to write this book, before I even wrote it, before I even started, I heard her story. And it served as almost like a skeleton. If my brain couldn't process what I was trying to do in full, I can listen to her story and just insert my parts in the blanks. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Jay, I'm just gonna call you Jay from now on, man. That's going to be your front name, your star name, man. So Jay,
that's me.
Yeah, man. So Jay, dude, if there was one message or thought that you can leave the listeners, what would that be?
Man, that would be just never give up, man. Pursue your dreams, with all that you have, because dreams, are made to come true, and just follow your heart and just don't give up. If I can make it, anybody can, and just always believe in yourself, man, and support others the way you would like to be supported, and watch that energy be reciprocated.
Love it, man. You have any links, social media links you like to plug?
Man, my website is www.jlowemusic.com, jlowemusic.com. And I have www.resilientjamarlinlowe.com. Those awesome. Are my websites. Everything I have going, you can find there. And, you got the Facebook, Jamarlin Lowe, and the Instagram @JLoweMusic.
Love it, man.
Out there.
All right, man. All right. Jay, thank you so much for your time, man. Really appreciate you coming on and sharing your life, dude. And, definitely want to have you back when your movie launches.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man. Awesome. All right, people. Thank you so much for your time, for joining us, man. And, gosh, man, I have to take a deep breath with this interview, because it was just so much goodness, and just really appreciate this. So everyone, thank you so much. Peace out.